Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Jackie's Academy. In today's lecture, I will discuss you about the therapeutic uses of beta blockers. Particularly, I will restrict the therapeutic uses to the cardiovascular diseases. And you have to remember that this is a very important topic because you cannot study the therapeutic uses in the cardiovascular diseases without the beta blockers. In almost every kind of the cardiovascular disease, we use the beta blockers. So we will discuss that kind of things. So in this video, I will discuss first of all the drugs that come under the class of the beta blockers. Then what are the uses of beta blockers in heart and blood vessels diseases, and what are the mechanisms which are responsible. So now we can have the three kind of the beta receptors. One is the beta 1, the receptors that are located on heart, JG cells, juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. Beta 2, which are mainly present on the smooth muscles. Beta 3, which are mainly present on the adipose tissues. I have made a video on these receptors and the pharmacological actions. So for more detailed study, you can go and click the link which is given in the description section of this video. Okay. So now when we study the cardiovascular diseases and we go for the beta blockers, basically it is the selective beta 1 blockers that are preferred because they are having the lesser side effects. So now, what are the drugs? Like we are having the atenolol, metoprolol, acebutolol, bisoprolol, esmolol, celiprolol, and nebivolol. So I will discuss some key point of some of the beta blockers, like esmolol. What is the special property of the esmolol? It is an ultra short acting beta blocker. So it has no partial agonistic activity. That means it is a pure beta blocker. Okay, so it doesn't have the membrane stabilizing action. Membrane stabilizing action is of the propranolol, which is a non-selective beta blocker, not with the esmolol. So it is ultra short acting because it is inactivated by the enzyme esterases, which are present in the blood. The T half is very less, you can say less than 10 minutes, and the total effect just lasts for 15 to 20 minutes. After 15 to 20 minutes, their effect disappears. And mostly it is given for the emergency control of the arrhythmias, cardiac arrhythmia, by the intravenous infusion. That is it. Second drug I want to discuss is the nebivolol. This is a beta 1 receptor blocker, plus it activates endothelial nitric oxide synthase. Okay, it activates the NOS enzyme. As a result, there is an increase in the synthesis of nitric oxide. And you know, nitric oxide produces the vasodilation. So as a result, this drug produces beta blockade, it produces vasodilation, and it improves the endothelial function because of this vasodilatory action. So as a result, it may delay the process of atherosclerosis, and it is very useful in the treatment of hypertension and CHF. I will discuss these diseases in the subsequent sections. Then we are having another drug, that is carvedilol. Carvedilol is very effective in CHF. What are the properties? It is a non-selective beta blocker. Okay, so others I have discussed selective beta 1 blocker, but it is non-selective beta blocker. So blocks beta 1 and beta 2, plus it blocks alpha 1 receptors. Okay, as a result of blockade of alpha 1 receptor, it produces the vasodilation. And third, it is an antioxidant. As a result, it reduces the damage due to the free radical. Because of these three actions, it is a very effective drug in the CHF. Another drug is the celiprolol. It is again a newer beta 1 blocker. Additionally, it has beta 2 agonistic activity, not very strong but weak. It is a beta 2 agonist. As a result, what will happen? It will produce the vasodilation, and it will reduce the resistance. Okay, so as a result, where it can be used? It can be used if the person is having coexisting asthma. Like a person is suffering from blood pressure, is also suffering from the asthma. Then you can prefer this drug because it additionally dilates, it produces bronchodilation. Okay. So it is more safer in asthma patient than the other beta blockers. We generally avoid beta blockers in the asthma, but this drug can be used. So if you want to study the actions of beta 2 vasodilation, so it is better to go and link the description link given in the description section related to the pharmacology of beta agonist. So now coming to the major thing, what are the uses of beta blocker in CVS diseases? It is used in the hypertension, used in the congestive heart failure, used in the angina pectoris, used in the myocardial infarction, cardiac arrhythmia, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, dissecting aortic aneurysm. I will discuss each disease one by one, starting with the hypertension. So beta blockers, they are antihypertensive, and what is the status? Okay, so you can say they are the one of the first line agent, very good agents. Okay, so if you calculate the blood pressure, what is the formula of calculating blood pressure? It is equal to cardiac output multiplied with the peripheral resistance. So now how beta blockers, they reduce the blood pressure? So I will discuss three mechanisms. I will discuss one by one. First mechanism, they decrease renin release. So they decrease renin from the juxtaglomerular cells. So if renin is not there, the angiotensin 2 will not be formed. To study the role of renin angiotensin, okay, so click the link of related to the pharmacology of renin angiotensin system in this description section. So if angiotensin is not formed, so there is a decrease in the blood pressure. That is why the drugs that block angiotensin 2, they are used as antihypertensive. So this is one mechanism, they reduce angiotensin 2. Second mechanism, they decrease cardiac output, direct action. How? So if you block beta 1 receptors which are located on the heart, they will reduce the heart rate, bradycardia. They reduce the heart contractility. So they will ultimately, if heart rate is reduced, contractility is reduced, so cardiac output will be reduced. If cardiac output is reduced, blood pressure is reduced. So this is the second mechanism, renin, cardiac output, decrease in contractility. Third mechanism, the reduction in the peripheral mechanism, resistance. This is the most important mechanism. Okay, so now study this mechanism more carefully. Okay. So now if you take beta 1 blocker, they do not directly produce vasodilation, not a direct action. I am saying not a direct action, but a indirect effect on the resistance in the arteries. How indirect? So now in the previous slide I told beta receptor blocker, they reduce the cardiac output. Okay, so cardiac output is reduced for a longer period of time. So this is what I have written, continued reduction in the cardiac output. So if the cardiac output is reduced for a long period of time, arteries gradually adapt to reduce cardiac output. If blood is not coming to that much force for a longer period of time, arteries, they adapt. How they adapt? By reducing the resistance in the arteries. They generally tend to relax. So if there is a relaxation in the arteries, there is a fall in the resistance. If resistance is reduced, blood pressure will be reduced, and this blood pressure reduction is a gradual fall in blood pressure, remember, gradual fall. So this is the very important mechanism. So reduction in peripheral resistance, reduction in renin, and decrease in cardiac contractility. So these are the three important mechanisms. Coming down to the second disease, angina pectoris. So you remember, angina is an imbalance in the myocardial oxygen demand and supply. There is more of a demand and less of the supply. As a result, more of the demand, less of the supply. As a result, there is a myocardial ischemia and there is a pain. So now, beta blockers are very effective in exertional angina, stable angina, or you call it a classical angina. Then second, They are also very effective in the unstable angina, which is also called as pre-infarction angina, which is also called as acute coronary syndrome. Okay. What is the mechanism? How? So now you remember what is the problem? Problem is more demand. Okay, so demand of the heart is increased. So what beta blocker will reduce? Beta blocker, they reduce the heart rate, heart contractility. So if the rate or contraction is reduced, so obviously you can say demand will be reduced. So they reduce the myocardial oxygen demand. So as a result, if demand is reduced, ischemia will be reduced. So there is improvement in the pain system. This is the major mechanism, reduction in the myocardial oxygen demand. There is another type of the angina, if you remember, that is called as variant angina, vasospastic angina, which is called as Prinzmetal angina. But in that angina, beta blockers are contraindicated in vasospastic angina or the Prinzmetal angina. Why it is contraindicated, I will discuss in the next slide. Beta blockers, they are contraindicated in the variant vasospastic or Prinzmetal angina. Why? Now, if you remember the pathophysiology of this variant angina, vasospasm, that is vasoconstriction of the coronary arteries, is the major thing in this angina. Okay? So as a result, if you give non-selective beta blocker, first I am taking non-selective, which block both beta 1 and beta 2. So they will produce vasoconstriction because they block beta 2 receptor. So again I am saying, see link of the beta agonist pharmacology in the description section. So non-selective beta blockers, they produce vasoconstriction. So already there is a vasospasm. You have given a beta blocker. They produce vasoconstriction and they potentiate vasospasm and worsen the angina condition. So, but we are using the selective beta 1 blockers. Okay, selective beta blockers, they have lesser tendency to produce vasoconstriction. I have written lesser tendency, no tendency, not it is non-tendency, because they beta 1 blockers, they are selective for beta 1, but they little bit they can also block beta 2, little bit. So the possibility of vasoconstriction with beta 1 blocker cannot be completely ruled out. They can block beta 2. So that is why, in order to avoid this condition, beta blockers are contraindicated in these kind of the condition, remember. Okay. So now, third one, myocardial infarction, irreversible cell injury in the heart because there is a persistent decrease in the blood supply. So where we can use, number one, we can myocardial salvage during the attack of myocardial infarction. What does it mean? It means beta blockers are given during the attack of the myocardial infarction. Given during the attack of myocardial infarction. Why? Because they will reduce the progression of the infarct. Reduction in the extent of infarct, the dead tissue which is increasing in the size, that will be reduced. Why? Because they reduce the demand, myocardial demand. If demand is reduced, ischemia will not be there and injury will not take place. So this is the one mechanism. Second thing, they reduce these chances of sudden cardiac death. You must have seen in some persons, there is a heart attack and then the person dies immediately. That is called as sudden cardiac death. And that sudden cardiac death is because of the ventricular arrhythmias. And if you give beta blockers, they reduce the ventricular arrhythmia, they prevent it and they reduce the incidences of sudden cardiac death. So this is one thing, salvage during myocardial infarction. Second use of beta blockers, secondary prophylaxis of MI. That means one attack of myocardial infarction has taken place. Now you want to prevent second attack or you want to prevent third attack. So this is called as prophylaxis, secondary prophylaxis. So we give beta blockers for a long term, on long term basis, so they reduce the mortality because they prevent the new attack of myocardial infarction. So, and second thing, they also reduce the incidences of ventricular arrhythmia. That is why in MI, during the attack, plus to prevent the second attack of MI. But there are certain precautions. in MI. What are that precautions? Some fun precautions are taken. Number one, you have to take care that heart rate is more than 50 per minute. Because beta blocker, they produce bradycardia. If heart rate is less, you give beta blocker, heart rate is further reduced, which is a very dangerous condition. So heart rate must be more than 50. Second thing, I will discuss later on in this section only, that beta blockers, they reduce conduction in the heart. Okay, so if there is some blockade, first degree blockade, actually blockade is of various types. First degree blockade, second degree blockade, third degree blockade. First is of the least concern. Okay, so beta blocker, they reduce the conduction. So if person is having second degree block and you give beta blocker, they will completely block the conduction. So conduction, the impulses will not move in the heart. That is why don't give beta blocker if the heart block is higher degree than the first degree blockade you can give, but if it's second degree block, third degree block, don't give the beta blocker. How you come to know that there is a block, first degree block, second degree block? That is by the PR interval that can be noted from the ECG. Okay, that should be less than 0.24 second. If it is more than that one, don't give beta blocker. Third, congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure. So it is found that if you give beta blockers for a long period of time, they produce beneficial effects in the congestive heart failure. How? There are multiple mechanisms that I will discuss. Okay. First, I am telling, they reduce the progression of congestive heart failure. It is found in the patients. Second thing, if you remember, in the congestive heart failure, there is excessive activation of the sympathetic nervous system. Because of that sympathetic activation, there is a excess of heart injury. In order to prevent that heart injury, beta blockers, they are given. So what I am saying is that in sympathetic nervous system, in congestive heart failure, there is excessive activation of sympathetic nervous system, which produces the heart injury. Beta blockers, they prevent that heart injury. Third, because of this sympathetic nervous system excessive activation, there is a apoptosis of the cardiomyocytes. So this cell death, apoptosis, is prevented. Now, as I told previously, beta blocker, they reduce the incidences of sudden cardiac death because it is an antiarrhythmic drug. It reduces a very important thing, they reduce the cardiac remodeling, restructuring, reshaping of the heart, which is very critical in the congestive heart failure. As a result, there is a reduction in the mortality and increase in the survival. So these are the different reasons by which you give the beta blocker in the CHF in almost all the patients, except one condition that I will discuss in the next slide. So what are the drugs which are given? Metoprolol has been found to be effective. Bisoprolol, carvedilol and nebivolol, they are found to be effective in CHF. Now, but one precaution that I was telling. What is the precaution using beta blocker in CHF? As I told, beta blocker, they reduce the heart contractility. Okay, so I have written beta blockers, they reduce heart contractility. So if in congestive heart failure, heart contractility is already reduced, so you give beta blocker, contractility can be reduced to a greater extent. So they may worsen the heart failure due to this action beta blocker. So earlier it was said that don't give beta blocker in CHF because of this reason. But scientists or doctors, they started giving beta blockers in a very low dose. They started with a very low dose. Then as the patient, they tolerated the dose, they slowly increased the dose to achieve the therapeutic effect. When they used like this one, they found that it actually increases, it produces the beneficial effect. And those beneficial mechanisms I have explained to you in the previous slide. But you have to remember this thing also. So if you see the person in a very advanced condition of the congestive heart failure, that is, person is a decompensated state. What is a decompensated state? Actually what happens is, in congestive heart failure, the compensatory mechanisms are activated to maintain the cardiac output. Okay, so we say heart is compensated, but if despite the activation of compensatory mechanisms, if heart contractility is not retained, we say it is a decompensated. So that means contractility is not maintained even with the activation of full compensatory mechanisms. Heart contractility is very weak. So we say it is a decompensated state. So if heart is in this state, you see contractility is very low, don't give beta blocker in this state. Otherwise, in all the states of CHF, you can give beta blocker. So whenever you are giving beta blocker, there are certain precautions you have to take. Whether it is CHF, whether it is myocardial infarction, whether it is angina or some other thing. Cardiac arrhythmias. So there are actually 4 classes of antiarrhythmic. They are classified class 1, 2, 3 and 4. And if you place beta blockers, they come under the class of class 2. Okay. So they are useful in various type of arrhythmias. And mainly we use 2 kind of the beta blockers. One is esmolol, that I told we give intravenously to control emergency conditions of the arrhythmia, very short acting drug. Second, propranolol. It is a non-selective beta blocker. What are the mechanisms? Number 1, beta blocker, they reduce the automaticity in the SA node. You know SA node is the pacemaker, it generates the impulses of its own. So sometimes it starts generating impulses at a higher rate. So it reduces that one, reduces the automaticity in SA node. Rate is reduced. Plus in SA node and ectopic foci. Ectopic foci mean some centers other than the SA node start generating the impulses. So it reduces the impulse generation from these sites, ectopic sites. Second thing, it increases the refractory period, effective refractory period in AV node. So if refractory period is increased, so what will happen? The conduction will be very slow, slowing of AV conduction. So that means the impulses which are passing from atria to ventricles, they are slowed down. The impulses pass from atria to ventricle through the AV node. So it is important AV node conduction is slowed. Third, they increase the PR interval. So because of these mechanisms, I will tell what are the arrhythmias where they can be used. So remember, reduce automaticity in SA node, in ectopic sites, increase in refractive period, slowing of AV conduction. So beta blockers as antiarrhythmic drugs. So they suppress extrasystole. Extra means, systole means some extra contraction is occurring because some ectopic foci has been activated. So they suppress the impulse generation from the ectopic foci, so extrasystole is reduced. They suppress tachycardia, increase in heart rate because they reduce automaticity in the SA node. This is one type of the arrhythmia. I will not discuss here, I will discuss in the arrhythmia section, which is called as PSVT. PSVT is the paroxysmal, S stands for supraventricular, T for tachycardia. Okay, so there are various other drugs which are given, like adenosine is very effective, verapamil, which is a calcium channel blocker, it is used, and we can also use the beta blockers. And as I told, post myocardial infarction, if myocardial infarction is there, then you can use these drugs. They reduce the incidence of ventricular arrhythmia. Why? Because once the infarction has taken place, some dead tissue has been there in the heart, then the heart become inhomogeneous. Okay, so because of that inhomogeneity, the electric impulses start traveling in different directions, but they increase the effective refractive period of whole heart. So as a result, homogeneity is reduced. Another use, very important use. So just read it, I will explain this use in the whole slide. They control ventricular rate in atrial fibrillation and flutter. Okay, I will try to explain this thing. It means, so as I told, if you give beta blocker, lesser number of impulses pass from atria to ventricles due to slow AV nodal conduction. So now what happens in the flutter? In the flutter, there is a very high atrial beats, 200 to 350 beats per minute. In fibrillation, it is even higher, 350 to 500. Now remember, if atria is beating at such a high rate, if all the impulses pass to the ventricles will also start having the beat of this one, which is very dangerous. But body has some mechanism of its own protection. So all the beats, they are not passing from atria to the ventricles in these conditions. No, normally it passes, but in this condition, there is a natural, you can say, resistance is there. So normally ventricular beat is 150. All the impulses do not pass in these conditions. But even if now see, 150 is even very high. So you want to reduce this ventricular beat to a greater extent. You want to normalize it. So give beta blocker. Beta blocker further reduce the passage of impulses from atria to ventricles because of the AV nodal conduction. So the impulses for the every 350 to 150 impulses were coming. Okay, that means for every 1 impulse is passing. Now give beta blocker, more lesser impulses will come. So ventricular rate is further reduced to 70 or 90. Okay, so that is the meaning. Beta blockers, they control ventricular rate in the atrial fibrillation and flutter. Very important use. Now some minor uses. Okay, dissecting aortic aneurysm. You remember, aneurysm means abnormal dilation and thinning of the aorta. So because of that one, there are chances of the rupturing of the aneurysm and hemorrhage may take place. So now what we are doing is, you are giving beta blocker, they are reducing the heart contractility, so the pressure which is putting on the aorta is reduced. Okay, so the aortic pulsation is reduced because the lesser contractile force is acting on the aorta. As a result, reduced chances of aortic aneurysm. You are putting lesser pressure on the aorta. That is the thing. And the last use that I am going to discuss with you is the hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. That means there is a hypertrophy, there is obstruction, there is cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy is a disease of the muscles of the heart. Cardiomyopathy. So there is a massive hypertrophy, increase in the mass of the heart muscles. So that leads to the obstruction to flow. That means blood is not coming outside the heart because lot of mass is there. There is obstruction. Particularly it happens during the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, when the person does some exercise or person is emotionally activated. So beta blockers, what they do? They improve the cardiac output during exercise by reducing ventricular obstruction. Beta blockers, they produce a relaxation of the ventricles. As a result, the obstruction is little bit overcome. So they improve this thing, but they have little effect at the resting conditions. So this is what I wanted to discuss with you. In the upcoming video, I will discuss you about the nitrates, their pharmacological actions, their therapeutic uses, and their side effects. Thank you.